Good morning, dear friends and colleagues. This is Abhijit Bora, Professor and Head of the Department of Mass Communication and Journalism, Tezpur University. Today, we will be discussing about a certain topic, radio in India, huge potential to be tapped. Why we have chosen this topic for this module is that radio has immense potential, which I do not have to repeat here, as all of you are aware of. But because of various reasons, maybe at times we may not have given radio the kind of importance or significance it should have been given. But yet, let us explore some of its advantages and some of its disadvantages in due course of time. Before going into the details, let me discuss with you a few appreciations and important quotes about radio in general from various authentic sources. First of all, it was Mahatma Gandhi who said about radio that it's a wondrous thing. I see Shakti in it, the miraculous power of God. This he said when he was supposed to address a big group of migrants from after the independence of the country in 1948 November from the All India radio station in Delhi. This was reported in The Hindu, June 24, 2013. Then there was the first Chief Commissioner of Federal Communications Commission, which is the primary agency like Telecom Regulatory Authority in India, in the USA, Mr. Paul S. Enning in 1936, who said, radio is a combination of the schoolhouse, the church, the public rostrum, the newspaper, the theater, the concert hall. In fact, all media devoted to education, enlightenment, and education of people. Also, it claims a more intimate relationship with the public than any other medium or tool of information at any given time. Again, the former president of USA, Thomas Jefferson, in 1801 said something slightly different, that the press is the best instrument for enlightening the mind of man and improving him as a rational, moral, and social being. Radio is a very convenient mass medium. From the fireside talks by former US President Franklin D. Roosevelt to Mon Ki Baat by our very own Prime Minister, radio is a true mass medium in terms of access and convenience. Many of us may not have a background of the fireside talks by US President, by former President Mr. Roosevelt. That was just after the 1929 or 1930-31 Great Depression in the USA. The former US President Roosevelt has taken to the radio for talking to the citizens of the country, the US citizens, in a very friendly tone, giving a series of lectures in a conversational mode, by which he tried his best to create a confidence among the people amidst the big chaotic time because of the depression. And it is a good thing that after about 70 or 80 years of time, again we are using radio for trying to create such a confidence among the people in general in the country. Then again, we recall with glory the contribution of radio to the Green Revolution, in where many of the products came to be known as radio rice, radio wheat, radio mustard oil seeds, etc. because radio has promoted all those programs, and all of us know that Green Revolution was what kind of a success it was. It has become a way of life for a majority of the country's population. Then again, even the earlier former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon in 2015, February 15, the day of the World Radio Day, said in his message to the world, said that it is a medium that captures the imagination and brings people together. Then again, the Director General of UNESCO Irina Bokova on the same occasion mentioned above, that was World Radio Day, February 15, 2015, said that radio provides the means for change. It's a vector of cohesion, education and culture, a platform for exchange of ideas. It helps create a sense of community and also in breaking out their isolation in difficult times. It is a people's medium. It is a medium that has much access and basis, very much a people's medium. It is also a steady region and language oriented growth that has ensured that radio speaks the language of the people, and in fact people talk to radio. This was quoted in a training manual of the radio with community orientation in a Ford Foundation publication in 2004. In 2011, a media organization in Great Britain carried out a massive survey which is called Media and the Mood of the Nation survey, in which they found that radio has the most mood enhancing effect, having lifted the happiness levels of the people or the listeners 100% and their energy levels by 300% compared to those not using any media at all. The survey also says that radio has been chosen as the lifestyle support system to help people feel better as they go about their daily lives. Even though we could not get individual country-wide statistics about the number of radio stations in different countries, a UNESCO publication claims that there are more than 44,000 or just about 44,000 radio stations worldwide. Here in the page you can find you can see a statistics which is somewhat old. It was taken up, it was found in 2004 or 2005, in which it says that USA had 14,000 radio stations, Italy had almost 1,000, etc., etc. And in India we have just about 500 or 600 radio stations. We personally believe that it is a far less number compared to other countries, and also compared to the big vastness of the country of this of continental proportions, where more than 2,500 languages are spoken, and the east, west and north, south span of the country is too vast to be imagined. Then again, the India census 2001 has informed us, the table you can see here, that radio listening habits among all kinds of people, all categories of groups of people by age was highest group wise. So you can see the popularity of radio in this regard. Then again, it needs to be mentioned here that the World War II has brought radio era to a very triumphant new high. A much fuller recognition of and accounting for radio's cultural role was at hand. During the Great Depression of 1930s in the USA, as I have just now mentioned, radio had seized the opportunity of keeping the entire nation informed, entertained and unified through those days of hard economic times and hardships. The Indian scenario, a steep decline and a cause of concern. In spite of such important benefits, this wonderful medium is facing some problems over the years, especially in India. One major pointer to this regard is that the percentage of radio transistor owning households in the country between the census periods of 2001 and 2011 have come down very heavily, which is a cause of concern for all of us. That is, the national average of this decline is 16%, 36.1% ownership in 2001 to 19.9 or almost 2%, 20% in 2011. At the same time, at the cost of radio, TV has gained much. That is, from 31.6 or 32% almost in 2001 to it has gained to up to 47.2% in 2011. And this is a source from the India Census 2011. You can refer to the tables in India Census portals in the files 1 and 2, which are given in annexure here. One interesting thing was that during this period, Manipur has shown a rather interesting development here. That is, Manipur has shown a growth in radio households during the same period from 9%, while at the same time showing growth of television households also, which is not the case with other northeastern region states. Now we shift to public service broadcasting. The UNESCO definition of a PSB or public service broadcasting is like PSB is a broadcasting made for the people and financed and controlled by the public. It is neither commercial nor state-owned. It is free from political interference and pressure from commercial forces. Through PSB, citizens are informed, educated, and also entertained. When guaranteed with pluralism, programming diversity, editorial independence, appropriate funding, accountability, and transparency, PSB can serve as a cornerstone of democracy. The Amsterdam Protocol, adopted in 1998 by the Council of Ministers of the European Union, recognized that the system of public broadcasting in the member states is directly related to democratic, social, and cultural needs of each society and to the need to preserve media pluralism. The World Radio and Television Council says public service plays an irreplaceable role in providing citizens with information, education, and entertainment free from commercial, state, or political influence. It must enable each citizen to become a stakeholder in the society, participating fully in the life of the community to which they belong and are actively involved in its organizations. It must be free from partisan or state pressure. It aims to serve all in the quest for the common good. It must preserve its independence while at the same time having its long-term financial resources guaranteed. Neither commercial nor state-controlled public broadcasting's only raison d'etre is public service. It is the public broadcasting organization. It speaks to everyone as a citizen. Public broadcasters encourage access to and participation in public life. They develop knowledge, broaden horizons, and enable people to better understand themselves by better understanding the world and others. Then we come to the question of radio in an educational avatar. In fact, Indian radio has about a 5-decade-long rich history of working towards educational purposes. Major projects in this direction include rural radio forums for agricultural development, promotion of adult literacy rate, Gram Set experience of 1995 using the medium for training women panchayat members, etc. These experiments have yielded valuable lessons on software, hardware, organizational management, etc. to the organization. In this direction, another significant development has been strongly making its presence felt since the last few years. Radio for local broadcasting. Media critic and veteran journalist Amit Desai, in his book, strongly opines that a key attention requirement for the country is to go for local broadcasting, reflecting issues of concern for the community. He also stressed upon advocacy and provision for training NGOs and communities for using the medium towards such a goal, as only a few of them are practicing at present in different parts of the country. The FM revolution was also a much talked about one, which had with an aim of creating about 1,000 FM radio stations in the private sector. Things are going on, but the actual goals are yet to be achieved yet. Then we come to the question of community radio. Following the landmark 1995 Supreme Court of India's verdict that airwaves are public property, no authority has exclusive ownership of it, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting came out with community radio policy in 2002. But even today, the number of community radio stations has not crossed more than 250 or at the most 300. Till the end of 2016, it was only 200, and with a number of about 2,500 to 2,000 applications. Yet, considering the importance and potential benefit of this form of radio and the time frame, this is really a minuscule number to feel comfortable by any means. In Assam, we are having only 4 operational community radios, out of which 2 belong to the universities and 2 to different non-governmental organizations. In this regard, the Mohaveli community radio model can be adopted as a role model for all community radio stations. The Mohaveli community radio was established in either 1981 or 82 when a person who was a communication expert was on a visit to Sri Lanka and found that lot of people, thousands of people were uprooted from their homes because of construction of a power station, proposed construction of a power station by the river Mohaveli in Sri Lanka. Then this person felt that why can't I do something for these people to be rehabilitated? And he has come out with a concept of the community radio station, by which he, as well as with the Sri Lanka Radio Corporation, they tried to guide the people and guide and advise the people about how to rehabilitate and how to settle down to a new life. And this was a big success, and that is why even many other community radio stations take it as a role model for their own community radio stations. This is interesting to note that Sam Pitroda, who led the National Knowledge Commission, has opined that about 5,000 community radio stations would be ideal for our country for achieving local level decentralized growth of development. But however, if not 5,000, at least 1,000 community radio stations would have been an ideal situation by now, but which hasn't happened yet. That too with a lot of imbalances, such as a few states have more than 20 community radios to their lot, whereas many of the states doesn't even have one, and others with just 1 or 2. It is important to look also at why such a decline is coming. There is a lack of interest in opening up the medium for private participation or even community participation, may be one of the factors. And only recently, it is a welcome step that community radios and FM stations are also being allowed to independently serve news, broadcast news for the people or their audiences. There was another negative development some time back, that was in 2013, when the CNN-IBN, the Hindu election tracker survey, found that only 12% Indian voters actually accessed radio for news, whereas the same for TV stands stood at a high of 42%. It was published in the Hindu's 2013, one of the 2013 editions. The study was conducted with 20,000 respondents across 267 constituencies in 18 states of the country. It was done in collaboration with the Center for Study of Developing Societies, Delhi. Also, the training manual for radio and community orientation, the Ford Foundation publication which we have referred to just now earlier, says that the medium has lagged in harnessing new technologies and adapting itself to the changing environment of an emerging information society, for which it has been facing some of the problems. State initiatives have to be developed for reversing the situation and utilizing the true potential of this medium for the country's development as well as development of the downtrodden people. Programs are definitely being available for the masses in 25 languages and many smaller dialects across the country through All India Radio. Yet, without news and current affairs component in private sector, it is a meaningless exercise. Even the private FM stations are basically light entertainment with hardly any substantive information network. Community radio, we can say that it is a hope of savior, and considering the various circumstances, nation has pinned its hopes on a smooth running of the community radio system, which is also not sailing smooth properly. at least so far. Analysis of the factors responsible for this is left for another session. The state can still infuse some life into the system by developing a model of a judicious and sustainable financial package for this mode of radio broadcasting. We believe that if at least some amount of resources at present directed at FM channels were invested in the community radio system, it will bring in a lot of benefits for the distant future. This is because CR system is the last extra mile that is needed for connecting with the masses beyond the academic institutions and formal government or bureaucratic framework for reaching out as well as delivery of developmental messages to every nook and corner of the country. In this regard, I would like to mention about an interesting and important initiative by the state government of Assam a few years back. That is, through the state Open University, which is termed as KK Hendik, Krishnakanto Hendik State Open University, the government has announced that they would sponsor setting up of community radio stations in some of the colleges of the state through KK Hendik Open University. The applications would have to come through KK Hendik Open University. But during a conversation with the Vice Chancellor and Registrar of the university at that point of time, I came to know that hardly 1 or 2 applications were received, and that too not in the proper format, and they never, even those who have applied for it, they never took it up later on. So the initiative ultimately went waste. This author strongly believes that an experiment can be undertaken by allocating a CR station or community radio station each to departments of communication and media, initially to one university in every state, preferably selected on an open competition basis, and entrust them with running it to reflect all the positive nuances of the system. After a period of 3 to 5 years, it should be reviewed and continued with improvements whenever necessary. Also, one primary aim of this scheme should be to prepare and develop NGOs, voluntary organizations, credible organizations, societies for running a CR station for themselves in future. This is because if universities and institutions take this lead in this regard, it is expected that the transition would be smooth and more convergent. Though quite a few universities are already running community radio stations, yet this would be a new way of taking up our social responsibility and contribute our bit to the society. Let us take a small step from here itself towards a meaningful goal for expanding a strong and robust community radio movement in this country. In 2008 and 9, it can be mentioned that the State Health Department of Assam has appointed many ASA workers who were the frontline and grassroots level health workers and who were given one radio set each, so that they could keep in touch and get to know the latest advertisement modules or advertisement messages about health and other sanitary and hygienic issues. Then again, the State Information and Public Relations Department of Assam government has made it a point several years back to install good quality loudspeakers at different points of the towns and villages, so that people can get to listen to radio broadcast of news and other important public service broadcasting endeavors. As we have mentioned just about the India Census 2001, which have for the first time started also taking information about what kind of communication resources people used in their homes. The data reflected that out of 29 states of the country which were accounted for in this regard, 18 had a higher ownership of radio sets than TV sets, a very encouraging development for radio buffs like me. And whereas only 11 states enjoyed more TV ownership than radio ownership in that by the 2001 census. It is notable that by the 2001 census again, Bihar enjoyed an envious position in this regard with 28% households owning radio sets and only 9% households owning TV sets. For West Bengal, the figure was 27 and 7, followed by gaps of at least 20% in favor of rural radio ownership in Jammu and Kashmir, Kerala and Mizoram. So we see that the medium that enjoys such a wide popularity, even in the face of onslaught from cable TV and other sources of information, is still remaining steady despite all problems. The convenience of being able to carry it by hand, listening while working, and not requiring to engage oneself wholly as is the case with television, largely this balance of tilts the balance in favor of radio. On this front, it was also found that in urban areas, 54.2% households owned radio sets, while it was 64.5% in rural areas. For FM radio sets, the same was 11 and 8% respectively. Similarly, as this presenter belongs to Assam, the comparison comes about Assam obviously. The census 2001 also confirmed that the level of radio listening in Assam, which was also showing a healthy and growing trend over the years. It revealed that the percentage of people of Assam in the age group of 15 to 49 would listen to radio programs at least once in a week. And the trend is steadily higher for all the 7 age groups in which the whole population has been divided into convenience of understanding. This also points to the fact that listenership of radio programs has been remaining almost steady for all people across all age groups. It is also further inferred that the listeners of radio have been very dedicated to their old medium and are not ready to abandon it for any other medium by any means. Another development I would like to mention here is that in a 2013 article in the popular and highly esteemed journal Biduro, in 2013, one of the issues, Bora has written that the Bihar government has taken up one community radio station to utilize its services for the social development of the state in a big way, and they were trying to make a series of, they were trying to make a network of community radio stations for utilizing their services for the development of the countries or the states socio-cultural as well as socio-political situation in general. Again, it was Professor Amartya Sen, the Nobel laureate, who also said that radio was the voice of the voiceless. Hence, we can say that radio has a great potential in our country, which we are yet to utilize in the proper sense. So, this would be my appeal to all like-minded people as well as colleagues and friends, that let us do something to gear up utilization of radio for still further, and not limit it to its only the entertainment issue, rather than utilizing its services for the development as well as enhancement of social status, as well as development of all kinds of issues in the society. Also, I would like to insist that media is an open platform where anything and everything which concerns the society must be deliberated and discussed about, so that positive, negative and good and bad things, everything should come out in the open, and people, the audiences should take its pick from those discussions. In that case, radio is the ultimate and most convenient medium rather than television or newspapers or print. Nowadays, it has become also very convenient because we can use radio or we can listen to radio even in our handheld devices, that is our mobile phones or tablets. So that way, radio has such a huge potential which we need to use for the future, which I am confident would bring about a major change in the lives of the people at the grassroots level. Let us work towards this development. I would also like to say that you will find some supporting documents in the annexures which will be given along with this lecture. Please go through it, and we will also expect feedback from your side. Thank you very much and have a good day.